Cool. Thanks, Dinesh. Good evening, everyone. And as usual, I would like to say thank you to all those who have joined so far and will be listening this webinar later on, right? So this webinar, which is number 8, is all about upcoming suburbs in Tasmania. As we all hear more about data, which is on social media, like the data is good, and all the investors, whether they are early investors or the astute investors, they always like to know about the emerging markets. So if you are one of them, this is the right webinar for you. Just a heads up, this webinar will not be a boring webinar where little information is shared. Instead, we're going to walk you through some real insights about the Tasmania market, why we think this market is good. We will share some recent purchases which we have done in Tasmania. And if there's a time, we will also share a cash flow of a property in Tasmania. Some housekeeping rules. Dinesh, can you move to the next slide just for the table of content? Just for the housekeeping rules, today's webinar is being recorded and we will be sharing the recorded link with everyone. You will be receiving by the email and the link will be shared on our PropXpert page. Please note, please be on mute when speakers are presenting or discussing, which you guys already have it. Q&A will be at the end of the session. Please feel free to drop your questions in the chat box. We might take some live questions as well. Just the table of content is on the screen, what we're going to cover up. So I'm not going to detail on these ones, but Dinesh, can you go to the next slide, please? But let's start with a small introduction about our speakers. So this session is going to be given by 2 people, Dinesh, who's on the screen, myself, Dinesh Mansur is on the screen. So I will start with a small intro about myself. I'm one of the directors with PropXpert and also a buyer's agent. Many of people would know that I'm also very active on a Facebook group called Property Farm Australia, nicknamed as a PFA, which started in 2019. So far, it has 66,000 members. My role and as a buyer's agent with PropXpert is to build up a strong trust between the clients, understand their situation, advise them the right strategy so that we can help them to buy the right property in the emerging market. So that's my role with PropXpert. Who am I? Dinesh, a few words about yourself, please.
I'm in the property from last 6 years, engineer by trade, did electrical, but always passionate about property. So in last 4 years, I was able to help more than 300 clients in the business. Some of the clients are at their 8th or 9th properties with us. Myself, I bought few properties down in the journey, about 7 so far, and looking for my 8th and 9th. So yeah, I started my property journey buying from Melbourne. I bought few in Perth and Queensland. And then recently I bought few properties in Victoria. And my next move myself as well, I'm looking more in Tassie. So that's why we are doing this webinar. So we'll discuss that in details.
Sure. Thank you, Dinesh. Let's move to the next one. About PropXpert, right? So PropXpert, which was formerly known as Property for Financial Freedom. Many would be aware or would be known by now that this particular Property for Financial Freedom was being launched by, was being started by Dinesh. This was almost 3.5 years ago when Dinesh and myself collaborated last year. There has been a rebrand. Now the Property for Financial Freedom is being called as a PropXpert. So we are now a small team of 10 people, 2 directors, Dinesh and myself, also licensed buyer's agent. In our team, we got 5 more licensed buyer's agent and 3 people who support us at the back end. Now, since the launch of this PropXpert or Property for Financial Freedom, we have purchased more than 300 properties so far for our clients. To be noted, it's not only one region, it's across all over Australia, where we see that property has a potential to grow. Like we know the cost was going up very high. There was a time when the region constant was going good as well. So we keep on moving as per the data, right? For our purchases, there are some examples which is been on our PropXpert website. There are also very great examples on our PropXpert page. But on the screen, we can see there has been 6 examples which has been shared over here. Wow. To be noted, all these 6 particular ones are recently we bought in Tasmania. Since the talks for Tasmania, we have given more things over here. Now in Tasmania, what we see is that we are targeting a property with a range of 550 to 700. Why Tasmania is good, we will cover up the next slide. But over here, what we can see, if we look at the very first one, the price is say 1615K and the rent is coming as 570 per week. What does it mean? That Tasmania at this stage is giving us a high rental yield, right? And that's the reason people are keeping an eye on Tasmania, right? So that's a small intro about PropXpert. Can you move the next one? So that's a disclaimer part. So the full disclaimer is on the screen, but I would like to read the shorter version. This webinar is general in nature, and the information provided in this webinar does not constitute any financial, legal, property, taxation, or any accounting advice. We have not considered any individual circumstances, and any information shared in this webinar should be independently verified with a qualified professional. Right. Let's move to the next slide, please. Though we are going to talk about the Tasmanian market, but I would like to take this opportunity to give a brief about the market appraise, especially what is happening in other states, where we have bought it, why we have bought it, how the growth has happened, right? So let's start with the Victoria. We know last 3 years ago, not many people were buying in Victoria. We were the first people to start seeing that there is a potential in Victoria. Now, what has happened? In Victoria, there are certain pockets which has grown up by 10%, right? This is in the capital city. We were able to buy properties, for example, in Craigieburn for 620, 650. Now, it's less than 12 months, the properties are over there has reached 750. But that's in the northern part of Victoria, of Melbourne. Similarly, in the western area, we were able to buy few properties in Point Cook. Again, properties has gone up by 80 to 100K just in 12 months time frame. In regional one, Eastern Victoria, we are very active in Bendigo, Ballarat, and Shepparton. Different theories. Properties are growing up in Ballarat. It was a declining market. We tap out this year in late February, early March. Property prices has gone up again over there by minimum by 10%. So that's overall by Victoria, though people don't talk about it. But yes, properties, if you select the right pockets, there is a higher potential for the growth in Victoria as well. New South Wales, as we know, the regional areas like Albury, Wagga Wagga, Dubbo, Armidale, they are growing pretty well. They're showing good sign of the growth. So based on your property portfolio, if you want to do a diversification, still they are the potential markets over there. Queensland, we all know it's not stopping at all. If you see on the quarterly report, which came up today for the month of September, there is a growth has happened in Queensland. Now, when we say there's growth has happened, it's not stopping up. But on the back end, if you look into it, the property market, which were in the regional like Cairns, Townsville, Rockhampton, Gladstone, they are moving at a very rapid pace. We used to buy for under 450, 500 mark. Now it is sitting at 600, 650. Dinesh, can you mute all the other people, please?
I've done that. I've done that.
Yep, thank you. Right, but even in Queensland, regions like Mackay is not stopping at all. Right, we did last year. We were able to buy under 600. Now it has reached the point where we have to buy for 750. Right, yields as the property prices are going higher, the yields will be little bit less as compared to what it was earlier. Right. So Queensland still has a potential. It's more about the Queensland has gone to the price mark out of 550, 600, right? We have to be very selective over there. WA, we all know about it, post-COVID, there's a huge growth over there. In last 4 years, some of the areas property has even doubled up, right? So in terms of the cycle, yes, the major cycle has been passed, but still, if you want to diversify, you should be thinking about it. Keep in mind, stock is still over there. It can be a good opportunity, but the market still has reached the point it's hitting at 750, 800K, right? Tasmania is a stable market, and this is why we have this webinar. We want to know more about the Tasmania, right? We will cover up more, but before we jump onto the interesting part, right? I want to ask a question to Dinesh. Dinesh, you have been very successful to pick up the right markets. I saw your webinars before we collaborated. You were very active in Perth, right? Share us some insight how you do it, man.
Like whenever you're picking a market, see, there are multiple reasons for any market to grow, right? For example, when I was looking into Perth, Perth wasn't growing from last 10 years, right? I bought my first property in Perth in 2021 when no one was talking about it. But when you marry, one is data, when we're going to discuss all that in just a minute. When you marry data, for example, the stock on market is low, the demand, the days on market are going low, yields are good, plus there are projects to support that. right? Then where you see that there's a job creation happening there, that's where you make the move that, okay, this is the next market, right? There in these days, data points also tell you market cycle timings. Are you going early in a cycle or late in the cycle? So for example, if you see in a Perth or in a Brisbane, price has grown a lot, and some data points are data tools are telling that this market is at the like low market cycle timing, that you're buying towards the peak of the market, right? So that's where you have to pick up that right market to invest, basically, right? So that's where, so that's whole the secret is. We were buying in Perth, we bought like 100 properties there, we bought 100 properties in Queensland, and then we bought 100 properties in Victoria. Touch wood, not a single property so far which hasn't performed significantly very well, right? Not a single, right? Yeah, so that's where the whole topic today is, that why Tassie market, why we feel that can be the next move. I'm studying this market since 2019. So how the market cycle works, it was old Tassie cycle in the past, pre-COVID, 2018-19, properties were sitting somewhere on say 250, 300K, they all jumped to like 450, 500K, right? Whenever you see that significant growth in any market, it goes out of affordability for the local people, market start getting stabilization, right? So what happened is after COVID, market hasn't moved much. So all these markets sitting at 450s is like that last 4 years, right? So there's literally not much growth. But we need to find the opportunities there. When there is no growth, sometimes it's a good signs that yes, this market can be good for a growth. But now why we started feeling that Tassie can be the next market, the main reason is extremely low stock on the market. Any suburb which we identified so far and we are buying there, you hardly find 2 to 3 properties for sale, and you hardly find 2 to 3 properties to rent. Any market, why the rent goes up so quickly, when there is a competition between tenants to get the property, right? When there's 10 people are fighting for a property and they're willing to pay 10, 20, 30, $40 more, that's how the rent grows, right? Whenever I see that patterns in Perth, I've seen that patterns in regional Queensland markets, I've seen the same patterns in Tassie markets. That's why we are here. Plus, it's a bottom of the market. Like I always like to buy in the bottom of the market. We are always successful to select the right next market. And the good thing is the project pipelines. So there's a huge project pipelines there. When I was like, I did some research from last 2-3 months that which projects are coming in there. More I'm looking Tassie, more I'm liking it, right? So Tassie is the first Australian jurisdiction where there are zero emissions in 2020. So all that energy they are producing is renewable, right? Now what they are targeting is to double that production, and now there are projects happening where they are doing the power lines between Victoria and Tasmania and trying to connect with the whole network of the mainland. Then they want to export that renewable energy to the mainland, right? So that can be very good for Tassie. And most of the projects, if you see Tassie, most of the projects are there to meet these targets, right? Yeah, so that's what we're going to discuss today in detail. So
So Dinesh, sorry, I want to just ask something over here. So it is true for me to assume when you sleep at 3 a.m., you are doing some research at the back end.
see, Asia Cup was going on till 4 a.m. There's a match, there was a match going, and then my research is ongoing, looking into projects, looking into idle properties. I started doing for Tezi literally 4 to 5 months
Put
ago.
everything? Hey, put some water.
Whenever I'm opening up any market, it's not like it's like that. I always do data analysis on top. Then how midnight property bug. I look into properties there and mark, okay, this is an ideal property, and see what happening. So when I mark that property in next 2 months, property gets sold quickly. And if I compare that property in 2 months time, those properties are going higher price. So that identifies, okay, you are in the right market, right?
So,
So that's how you build that confidence. So yeah, so whatever I'm
so
going to present today, it's literally last 2-3 months work which I was
yeah,
doing towards to Tassie,
so
right?
pretty much property is in the DNA now, right?
Yes, yes, yes,
In the
yes,
morning to the evening, property topics will come up, right? Cool. Now, thanks for
yes.
that. let's hear more from you because there's a lot of things needs to be discussed over here. So over to
Yes.
you. Go the full pace, Dinesh.
Awesome. Great. So yeah, what are the major hubs in Tassie? When we're talking about Tassie, I'm not sure if many of you have traveled. I've been there a couple of years ago. I just loved it. It is so beautiful. There's a spirit of Tasmania from Melbourne to which people take, and you can literally take your own car, which we did, and you land in Devonport. So that's called Northern West Tasmania. Devonport to Burnie, that's where a lot of projects are happening, which I'm going to deep dive into that very shortly. Then you have Launceston, which is a very big major hub as well. Then you have this Hobart. Hobart is a capital city, multiple things happening in there. So for tourism perspective, it's a beautiful area. But yeah, but these three are the major hubs where we are active at the moment and looking properties for our clients, right? So I'll just go each and every region and tell you the reasons why it should be a good market to look into, right? Very first one is Northwest Tasmania. I'll show you with the Google map, which I really like. So if you go, this is where we are. So I'm more talking about Devonport to Burnie. That's called Northwest Tasmania, right? If you look into the presentation here, so Devonport is almost 30,000 population, Burnie is 20,000, and Ulverstone, which is in between Devonport and Burnie, is Ulverstone, is around 15,000 population. So in total, there's roughly 80,000 people living in these pockets, which is a huge population, right? So we were buying properties in Mackay or Gladstone. Gladstone was like 45 to 50,000 population. So it's a major hub. It can't be considered a very small town. It's a diverse economy, right? So what are the major economies there is basically shipping, ports, there's agriculture, there's manufacturing, there's a tourism there. So that's a major economies there. But what I'm going to discuss here is the projects coming there, which is more towards renewable energy, right? Coming back to here, so so this Devonport, that's where your Spirit of Tasmania lands. Lewiston is around 15 minutes drive from here, 15 to 17 minutes drive, and then further 1 hour drive from Devonport to Burnie. So this whole pocket showing a good sign for a capital growth. And I'll tell you the reasons. One is there's a huge project called Project Marinus, right? That's a link to the project. It's a $5 billion project, which is $5 billion+ project, which is already is all passed and about to start construction very soon, right? What that means is they are connecting undersea. So that's Tasmania. So that's Project Marinus, right? So what they're doing is that they're doing underwater power transmission project. What they're doing is they're generating a lot of renewable energy here, which is around their target is to go by 200% by 2040, and they export that energy to the mainland. And then this is called National Energy Market, NEM. So that's all the East Coast electrical network. So what happened is when there is a very high energy prices, for example, in June, July, sometimes the energy prices goes very high. So what they do is they do pumped hydro project. So to support that, there is like this project happening, which is called a pumped hydro project here. It's happening in multiple areas. What they do is they do it in the hills where they store the water on the heights. When the energy is cheap, they just pump the water on the hills, right? And from there, when the energy is expensive, they discharge the water from hill to downwards, and then they regenerate the electricity, and then they can pump. So that operate as a literally battery. So the charging the battery, pulling the water up, then discharging the battery and pulling the power into the market. So Tassie is there's a major infrastructure projects happening in here where they're gonna act as a battery, and they generate the electricity by renewals and just supply that energy to the mainland. So that's a huge project, and it's gonna create a lot of jobs around there. And this sporting project's gonna give a lot of jobs in there as well, right? Apart from that, that's what the spirit of Tasmania is. It's a big ships. I remember maybe you can park like 500 cars in that ship. But that ship is getting upgraded, right? So ships are already ready, right? And they're literally, but the ports are not. So the Geelong, they used to be go from Port Melbourne, but recently they moved the port to Geelong because these new ships doesn't support the Port Melbourne one. So they moved that to the Geelong. So Geelong port is ready for these ships, but Devonport is not ready. So they're getting upgraded Devonport, but seems like, by next year, this will be operations here. So what that will do is that will bring 160,000 people more every year in Tasmania market. So the tourism gonna boost from here, right? So yeah, so that's a very good project in there. So basically these are the projects and plus data. When you marry both of them, if you look into Devonport, right? So if you look at Devonport, literally everything start lining up. So Stockholm market is extremely low, less than 1%. Vacancy rate is literally 0.34%. That's the key in this market. And prices started going up. So we were looking properties like 500, 550K. They started showing a sign of going up to 600K now, right? I always believe in ripple effect. So Devonport, again, if it's hot, right? And in some pockets, for example, East Devonport, there is a high social housing, so we avoid those pockets. But if you travel only 15 minutes here to Ulverstone, I really like that market, right? So it's just a 15 minutes there. The whole projects are going to be in whole belt here. It's not like only Devonport. So the whole region will take a benefit of that, right? So I don't mind if you even buy in Ulverstone, right? So I'll show you example of Wolverstone. I open up some properties there. So yeah, so this is ideal properties. For example, it's not purchased by us, but I was just looking some recent sold properties in Devonport. Our properties are under offer yet, so until it's unconditional, we are not showing those properties. But this particular property, for example, 550K. One thing to note: majority of the property you're gonna see there is going to be old ones. It's gonna be very old ones. You will see some renovated properties. Very rarely you get a newish built houses there. So you have to be okay with the old properties if you're looking Desi market. So my taste always was looking to buy 2000 plus built houses. When you see our results, most of the properties are like that. But at Desi market is different. You don't have the very new houses, and it's a good signs as well because they are not building new houses there much, right? So there's a lot of pressure on existing housing. So this property, for example, 550K, you that rent like 480K, 480 or 480 per week. So rental yields are pretty good. So that's one of the examples of Devonport. If you go, this is our purchase in Ulverstone. There's a third purchase for the client. For us, we bought their first property in Perth, and that property grown like 250K. The second property we bought in Mackay for them. That property grown like 150K within a year. And that's a third purchase which gone unconditional recently. So that's Ulverstone. Again, these properties, this is 1980s, 70s, 80s properties, but next to the water. Literally next to, fully renovated next to the water. We bought it only for 490. And this property gonna rent somewhere around 470 per week. Right. So the cash flow gonna be very good. Even the property is not settled. We have seen similar properties already going 520, 530. Right? So they started growing by $10,000 a month already. And if you see the stock, there's literally no stock available there. Like properties are going super crazy. Within a week, 10 days, properties are getting sold. Right? So that's a Ulverstone. And then you have Burnie. So there's another market, but again, there's no examples in there. I really like Burnie market as well. So there's a lot of tourism, a lot of infrastructure happening in Burnie as well, and it's pretty good size too. So you can look into opportunities there too. Right? So that's more northwest Tassie. The northwest Tassie is whole belt basically, right? That's good. So yeah, I'll move to the next one now. So that's that. Now, next is Launceston, right? Launceston, again, it's not a small town. It's 110,000 people living there. So it's a big size It's equivalent to Mackay in regional Queensland. It's like it's equivalent to, I would say, Ballarat is 120,000 population, so it's not a small one, right? Similar way, they have agriculture, food production, education, big hospitals, retail. So it's a diverse economy. It's not like a mining town or something. It's a very diverse economy. There is many projects around there, which is like, they're improving the city, they're improving the stadiums and stuff. They're doing a lot of small projects. But what I really like, one of the projects is this AI data center. So they put around, like the first stage, they put around $2 billion there, right? I was looking at project. So it's a fully renewable powered project already under construction. It's not like under discussion. Its first stage is already under construction. So they are literally, working on AI. There's AI facility. Factories on in North Tasmania. So that can be a start of the hub, AI hub. AI is a future. So that's happening in there, right? That's a huge one. 2.1 billion to be invested in stage 1A over the next 12 months. So that's a huge money for a small town, right, with a 100K population, right? So that's one project to look into. It's going to be very interesting here. Now going to the examples, how the example is going to look like. My favorite suburb, I'm looking into that suburb. When I traveled Tassie 2 years ago. I know Tassie Cycle will come one day. I literally did open house with my wife in this particular suburb. It's a very nice and good suburb. Prospect. So you can literally explore that suburb. If you're looking, the ideal properties looks like that, right? So you're buying around like 600 to like mid 500 to early 600 is the ideal price to pay there, and you get a decent 550 to $600 per week rent in there, right? There's another suburb which I really like is Riverside. All these suburbs are good on data. So if I put a prospect here, so vacancy rate is literally they're not showing because there's not many properties there for rent, right? Stockholm market is less than 2%. Percentage renters on market is good. Days on market less than 50. It's a very good market to look into, right? So another example is this Riverside. It's a good suburb, mid 600 properties. Renting. You're
Yes, you
getting
might
some
have to.
scenic views from these properties. So this is one of the property examples to look into, right? Yeah. So that's more a Launceston, right? Just
Dinesh, you may have to mute the other people.
I've done that, G.
Yeah,
Okay,
thank
so that's more Launceston. Now coming to my favorite market where I'm very keen to buy very soon, as soon as possible, as soon as my uh, rooming house project is underway, I will start buying properties in Tassie. So that's the next one is the capital city Hobart, right? Again, good population, around 240,000 people living in there. So it's a small capital city. It's not a huge capital city, but still a capital city, right? It has a young age, 39, younger than other markets like Launceston and Devonport. Because of the capital city, it has a public sector. It's a huge health sector. It has education, tourism, heaps of things in there, right? And again, a lot of small projects. Hobart Airport is getting upgraded. There's 10 years infrastructure plan there, right? But these two projects picked up my eyes. See, when we say hydrogen is the future as well. Like in Queensland, we were buying these properties because they have billions of dollars investments coming in hydrogen, but Tassie is not far in that too. So when I saw that, they already have a production and research facility up and running in Tassie. It's recently opened up. They are producing hydrogen there. They're running their they started running buses and everything. So it's a research facility that's a huge for the region. So if you see majority of the things they're doing more towards renewals. So that's a huge for the area. And another one which I really like is this. There's 𝐸ncat Tasmania is a shipbuilding company in Tassie. They are building world's biggest battery operated ships, right? So they're gonna these are gonna be world's biggest one, world's largest battery electric ferries, right? So it's gonna be huge, 129-meter big one. So it's gonna be operating in Europe's a few Europe markets. So that's a huge one for that, right? Again, now coming back to this, that's that. And if I look into the properties, so for example, these are our purchase. We bought this property for 633, 2013 built house, very decent one, and literally good views. And one good thing is these suburbs we are buying in Tassie, they're good for Airbnb as well. For example, old beach, or you're talking about, I'll give you a bit of idea in Hobart. So now we are here in Hobart. So it's not everywhere we are buying. So Hobart, for example, if you look into that Munna, West Munna, they are expensive suburb. Glenorchy is pretty good on data. Literally, if you see Glenorchy, any good suburb in their property for rent in Glenorchy, right? Always, so you won't see one property freestanding, right? That's a unit, that's a unit, that's a unit, done. It's a huge suburb, just one property to rent in the whole suburb, right? That's how rent goes up, because it's literally nothing to rent. It's a huge suburb. If I put in Glenorchy here,
Dinesh, just a question, right? For this particular suburb, what's the price mark going on for 3 bedder and 4 bedder?
yeah, so we bought one property, the claim on Glenorchy. So most of the properties here are going somewhere around they're mostly old properties. They're going somewhere around 620, 630 mark, the old ones, right? They're renting for somewhere around $570, $580 per week, right? You can buy properties say 550, 560. So major difference is those 550, 560 properties are going to be weatherboard houses, whereas the brick houses are more like 620, 630, right? You may see that's a 3 bedroom, that's a 3 bedroom. Why this is going 550 and one is going 620 is just because the 620 ones are more like a brick houses. Plus, you need to be very careful on a social housing. So this is suburb within suburbs. In Glenorchy, some pockets have a high social housing, some pockets are pretty good, right? So this old beach, so this property was in Claremont, again a great suburb on data. We bought this property, very decent one, right? Good thing is the next door is already getting subdivided, and they put a 3 dwellings in there. So there are many suburbs where many properties where there is a subdivision. So this one exactly same block next door have done 3 dwellings, right? So in here, anytime you want, you can just demolish down the line and put these three dwellings in there, right? Yeah, so Claremont is good one. Very one of my favorite suburbs. I like Austin Ferry, Chigwell, all that suburbs. But when you jump into the Bridgewater, Brighton, these are the low socioeconomics ones, right? Not many people prefer buying there. But yeah, so it's a market within market. One of the favorite market I have is more this Midway Point, Sorel, because they're just 10 minutes from airport, 20 minutes from city. They're very popular for Airbnb. 70 to 80% vacancy rates for Airbnb there, right? So I really like that these particular pockets. Even I don't mind buying in Rugby. Rugby is one, so like it has some low socioeconomics pockets, but it's getting getting gentrified very like pretty well. So Rugby I don't mind within pockets within pockets, right? So yeah, so there are few suburbs we are working on at the moment in here that which are good, which are not. One suburb, Risdonville, so you will find maybe why you find properties very cheap, and you will find why. So why properties are cheap is one of the biggest reasons in the area, right? People don't prefer paying premium prices in that particular suburb. So every suburb have its reasons for the price, right? So we are very selective where we are buying in these Tassie markets, but yeah, um, we bought some newish ones as well. So the old properties are more like 620, 630. If you go into newish and 3 bedroom, 2 bathroom, one thing is the 422 concept is not very popular there. You'll find 422. You'll find 422s there, but it's gonna be 700K plus, right? You may get rent $650 to $700 per week there as well. But majority of the properties are 311, 322s like that, right? The price varies from somewhere from 530, 540 for the weatherboard houses to somewhere around 670, 680, 690 for a 322 brick houses, right? But yeah, so that's a Tassie market overall. And any suburb you pick up, literally nothing much to buy, nothing much to rent. That's a recipe for the capital growth, right? Yes.
Dinesh,
So
just one note, you did mention about Airbnb, right?
yes,
Can we go back onto that one? Just because of the Airbnb, what for the audience and for the investors, what we need to be considered is that what is the occupancy rate? And for an Airbnb, if the occupancy rate is good, it's going to be a very good for the investment, right?
yes,
So Airbnb, and then as a normal investment, if the property comes up in an area, that property cannot go wrong, right?
yes.
So Airbnb can give us extra cash
Yeah,
flow.
see, I did little bit of work on that. Properties in Sorel or these, decent houses. The occupancy rate is somewhere around 70%, 60 to 70%, which is considered to be very good for Airbnb,
Very good.
right? What I came to a figure is we hoping interested, you can generate somewhere around 5 to 6% rental rate,
Mhm.
right? So literally, if you want a positive cash flow from day one or literally neutral, right? If you run the Airbnb, find the good super host. Super hosts are people who just manage the property, look for your bookings and everything, look for the cleaning and everything. So if you find a good super host, it's gonna be neutral gate from the day one, right? So yeah, so we are still working on exploring that Airbnb part, but yeah, there's a tool called AirDNA. So the AirDNA is where you can put the property address and you get a rough idea of vacancy rates and stuff like that, right? Yeah, so that's a Hobart market. Is it a good idea to jump on a cash flow as well?
Dinesh,
Before that,
yeah, if there's a time, do cover the cash flow.
okay, so we'll just quickly go. I've done already prepared that. So for an example, you're buying a property in Hobart for 620K, right? What you need is, for example, you're buying with a 20% deposit. You're looking somewhere in 150 to 160K deposit, right? Interest rate at the moment sitting at 5.7%. Property management in there. Whenever you buy in a small capital cities or small regional hubs, the property management is roughly at 7% there. So I've considered that. I've assumed 37% tax bracket, vacancy of 2%, which is very low anyways, but I'm still putting 2%. These 620 properties renting for $560 per week. Good thing is the whole Tassie, when you look into Queensland, majority of the properties have a high insurance cost, but Tassie is cheap on insurances. They're not very massive insurance. So like 1,200 for insurance, rates are around 3,500. I have put a land tax in there of $600. Very good thing in Tassie. They don't penalize you for the land if you're buying a property in a trust structure. Just an example, if you buy a property infrastructure in Victoria, you pay a penalty like a surcharge on a land tax. New South Wales, from every single dollar, if you buy in a family trust, you're gonna pay the land tax. Where Tassie is same $135,000 land value. Doesn't matter you buy under trust or personal, you don't pay land tax. Like you pay the same land tax, right? So land tax is not huge, say $500 to $600 land tax, and older property renovated depreciation say $3,000. In this scenario, it's only going to be $10,000 negative entire year. And after claiming the tax back, it's only $5,000 negative entire year. Right?
And
If you use 80% of the deposit, right? If the rate cuts happened, the two rate cuts happened by mid of next year, say, it's going to be even much better here, right? Now, if you're buying under, you're getting a equity out, say you're not spending a single dollar to buy this property and everything coming from equity. Say I'm going with the 106% LVR. Still after tax, it's only $10,000 negative. Right?
So
So
this
the cash
this
flow perspective, it's very good.
so Dinesh, this scenario is particular. Maybe you can say this is more applicable for those people who are taking the equity from another property, but the equity is not a free loan, right? They will
Yes.
be loan against it, right? And that's the
You're still
reason
paying the
when
interest on that amount.
interest
Yes.
on it, right? And that's the reason you have considered 106%. So
Yeah.
we're taking the equity for the previous property, which most of the investor does it, and then they buy another property. So in this
Yeah.
example, 106% we're taking as a LVR.
Yes, right.
Perfect.
So 100% cost of the property, then 6% covers stamp duty, your conveyancer fees, building and pest cost, everything. So you're literally not putting a single dollar from the pocket, right? And still, it's only $10,000 negative entire year. What we are assuming is what we have seen, that it's a multiple offer situation. Any good properties going like a hotcake now, right? We are predicting a pretty decent growth. It can go in more than 10% as well. We can't 100% like it's a predictions, but we have a strong feelings that it can go even 10%. So if you're talking about 10% growth of the purchase price, you're talking about $60,000 growth, whereas you're losing $10,000 every year, right? So again, if you go with a normal 7% growth as well, it's much better than this $10,000, right? Yeah, so that's a cash flow side. Manish bro, if you want to cover how we can help
Yep.
everyone.
Sure, right. I think what Dinesh has covered up the entire scenario about entire rundown about the Tasmanian market. But in terms of what we are as a buyer's agent, where when people approach us, Dinesh and myself, the very first thing what we need to understand is that what is the borrowing power for the person. Reason, once we understand the borrowing powers, let's say someone has coming with a 500K, 600K, or 700K. That's where our expertise is that when we understand this scenario, we need to take them to the right market, right? But Tasmania in this scenario is one example, but we have multiple clients who are coming back to us because when they see the portfolio growing up, they say that, yes, we want to buy another market. At that point, we also need to consider how we can diversify the portfolio, right? So even as of now, we are not limiting ourselves to buy in one particular region. We're not buying only heavily in Victoria. We are buying heavily in Victoria because we see there's a potential, right? But at the same time, if you look on the last purchases, you can see it. We are buying in Queensland as well. We bought some properties in New South Wales. We bought something in WA as well. So we are buying where we can create a portfolio for the clients, right? So in terms of how we can help you out, if you reach you out, we will understand your portfolio regardless you have taken a help from some other buyers agent or your existing client. The first thing, we will understand your portfolio. Based on your portfolio, based on your borrowing power, we will help you out to buy a property in the emerging market. Yes, as a buyer's agent with a strong relationship, we do have a relationship with the real estate agents which help us to get an off-market properties. Once we get an off-market property, which means that from a client point of view, you will get early access to those properties, right? So that's how we help you out, right? Last thing, which is a little bit unique with us, is that when we do a help, we don't leave you in between. We will hold your hand from the start till the end. When I say till the end, that means till the settlement. And some people feel that, hey, you guys have helped us out. After settlement has happened, we have paid your fees. Now, what's gonna be your support post the purchase, right? So we monitor the properties of each of our client. When the property starts growing up, which can take 3 months or 4 months, you will receive a message call from either Dinesh or myself saying that, hey guys, your property is growing up. It's the right time to tap on the equity, start thinking about your portfolio. So multiple ways we can support you guys, right? Now, how to reach out? Easy. Our phone number is always there on the website. This is on the screen. Our email address is over there. On our website, there is a booking calendar, where you can guys book a 15 minutes discovery call, either with Dinesh or myself. As soon as that booking calendar is booked up, either of us will reach you out and we'll do a discussion based on that, right? So multiple ways. Happy to help you out. But let's now, Dinesh, let's open up the Q&A for the people if they have any questions. Cool. There has been some question came up in the chat room, one which you have already answered about it. There was one question which came up is that do you recommend Launceston in as it has very limited and land supply as compared to Hobart? And the person who has asked this question, the person himself is looking for a dual income property in South Launceston.
Again, I'll launch, say, because of the demographic of the areas, even in Tassie as well, they're not adding a lot of properties in there, right? If you look into Melbourne, northern pockets, western pockets, there are heaps of land supply there, right? Whereas in Tassie, Launceston, even Hobart as well, there's not much land supply on the outskirts. Even there's land supply, they're not doing much. So building approvals are extremely low, right? That's a recipe for capital growth. For a supply constant perspective, I'm okay with buying both in Launceston and Hobart, equally good, right?
Good, thank you. I know this person. I've spoken with him over the phone and through the WhatsApp messages. So wait, if you need anything, give us a buzz afterwards. There's one more question came up earlier is that, Dinesh, we did mention many suburbs in this webinar. The question came up for a particular suburb, right? The suburb name is Waverley.
Waverley, I haven't looked into that particular suburb, to be honest. So I can literally have a quick look where that Waverley is. So that's outskirts of I can see a bit of land in here, but seems like it's not developable, right? Haven't worked on that, but if you can reach out to me personally, it's very small, so that's why it's not on my radar yet, right? But yeah, we can look into that. But seems like it shouldn't be a problem looking into that suburb, right? If I look into data quickly as well. It looks very good from data perspective. Days on market is only 53, ideally is 50 to 60. Online search interest is very high, yield is 5.7%, stock is 0.17, like one of the ideal suburbs where my eye shines up when looking into that. But yeah, I haven't seen the properties as yet. I'm not sure the low socioeconomics, if there is any there. So I'm not 100% sure on that, but we can look if you can reach out to us directly.
Yeah. Dinesh, can you open up the market cycle timing for this suburb?
Market cycle timing, see, Tassie still not picking up market cycle timing in majority of the markets,
okay.
right? But yeah, the first points here, they are lining very well.
Good. Let's jump on the next one. That question has came up outside of the scope of this webinar, but I will just read it out and I will request that person. The question has came up that they want to know about some updates about Perth, right? Should we
So
take
what's the question about Perth?
Just the insight about Perth, how the Perth market is going on.
See, Perth, literally, we bought 100 properties as we mentioned early in the webinar. Still, it's going, it's doubled in the value. We are buying like 450, 400, 420, 430. They are 800K properties. A couple of clients have sold their properties as well because they need the money. They've literally grown like 60-70% since we bought those properties. So whenever, like, I always try to go cheaper side market. So 800K, when I'm looking 300, 400K capital growth from there, I feel like I don't feel 1.1, 1.2 mil in a short period of time. So it has done a 400K growth there, but whenever the market grown that much, I really feel little scared buying in those markets, right? So we kind of stopped buying there last 1 year, but recently there was a client's requirements that they want to buy in that particular markets just because to diversify their portfolio. We still bought few properties recently in Perth. But if you say is that at one time 95% property we were buying in Perth. At one point it was 80 to 90% property we were buying in Queensland. At one time last year, 60 to 70, 80% property we were buying in Victoria, right? So if you say my top favorite is not Perth anymore.
Dinesh, I
But
want
if
to
you
take
tell
this
me
question.
if I'm going to hold my property there 100%. right? But because stock is still very, very limited, price is still growing very fast. There's still heaps of defense projects about to start. The ship manufacturing, submarine manufacturing, all that is about to start. I'm not going to sell my property.
And you know what? The latest quarterly report which has came up, it has shown a growth for each market, right?
Yes.
And this is a very tough time we are going to see it, just because when each of the market is growing up, it can create a lot of confusion for the people, right? So
Mhm.
my suggestion would be go with the budget, number one, and try to do the diversification, right? There will be a lot of noise in the media, lot of noise on the social media as well, that this only this market is moving. No, all other markets are moving. So invest where you think, or where you think to diversify. But keep in mind, borrowing power has to be considered, right? Let's take another one, specifically because this is a very good one. I was trying to pause you in between when you were giving a rundown about Tasmania, but someone has picked up and asked the right question. Hi, Dinesh and Manish, Lancaster and Devonport, most of the houses has huge fall. Do you think there's an issue with that?
See, when it's a common demographic of any particular market, similarly, we bought heaps of properties in Gladstone, and
Yes.
Gladstone is similar sort of market. I've been there as well. That most of the properties are on a slope, right? When it is a common demographic of the area, I don't mind buying in a slopes, right? Because 70 to 80% properties are on slope, so people don't have options. So that's the only choice they have. So in that case, I don't mind as long as it's structurally strong. The building and pest inspection coming very strong. I don't mind buying in a slopes.
And Dinesh, I have the same opinion. I'm only worried about, let's say, if in the street there are only two houses which are little bit different, then it can be a concerning. But the entire suburb is planning that way, it should be okay.
Yes.
Cool. The next one, is East Devonport a no-go zone due to social housing, or is it the whole of East Devonport, or just some pockets?
See, it's a pocket within pockets, not whole East Devonport. Even this suburb, which we so have East Devonport, so you really need to discuss that with a good local property manager where you're buying. Uh, if there is a lot of issues with the public housing, but yeah, if you talk about percentage, on the data it shows 30 to 40% is a public housing there, right? So I would try to avoid if I can, but yeah, it's very subjective property to property, right? There's another suburb main data which we were looking. These suburbs looks pretty strong as well, right? If I have an option either East Devonport or main data, I'll pick main data.
Cool. Dinesh, can you show on the DSR about these two servers? Because there was a continuation in the question about to see the data.
So main data, so all these suburbs in they started looking, see, Stockholm market, we can see that they don't show just because there's nothing in there to rent out, right? So
Mm-hmm.
it goes like slash then. Stockholm market
Mm-hmm.
is very low. Here, the DSR algorithm to calculate the days on market is a little different. Because I think they calculate how long it takes to settle the property there, right? But on ground reality is any decent properties are selling within a week or 2 weeks. So days on market on the ground is very, very different. And if you talk about different data tools like Suburbs Finder, if I use the same suburb, the days on market will be extremely low there just because the algorithm of calculating is different, right? But yeah, so main data, very good suburb on data. If you talk about East
Devonport.
Devonport, data wise, literally we can see 0%. Stockholm market is 1%. Everything is lining up.
Mm-hmm.
Everything is lining up.
Cool. Uh, Now we were talking about the data and we're talking about the purchases earlier. If I'm not wrong, Dinesh, I want to call it out that before we did a purchase, we did a close monitor on this particular market, and that, if I'm not wrong, was it for 3 months or 4 months before we did the first purchase, Dinesh? That we were continuously monitoring. We were talking to the property manager. We would keep an eye how the properties are going on, what is the stock, how long does it take to sell that property. Uh, and then when we are really, really confident, yes, there is a good potential. That was the time when we started buying for our clients.
Yes.
Right. Cool. Next, take the next one. Oh, since you're on the DSR, can you open up another suburb called Primrose Sands? Right. The question just came up. What do you think about it?
Old Tassie started showing a lot of potential. Only days on market, which I'm not sure why it's showing so high, but rest everything is, because the stock on market, vacancy rates, everything is looking so good in there, right? So if you want to go early in a market, don't really afraid from days on market, right? Do some homework. So maybe call the property managers, call the agents, try to find how quickly the properties are going. Then I would still go and buy. And you're buying early in a cycle. That's in Queensland, right?
Look for Tasmania. Yeah, that's one.
Tasmania. Yeah, so this suburb, it comes to my radar few times. The only concern I have is it's little more far from city. So Tassie, if you go Sorel, it's just for 20 minutes. Whereas this Prism Science, it's 35 to 40 minutes. If I go here, Hobart City. Oh, sorry, Hobart. So it's going same way. It's like 40 minutes to Hobart City. It's a bit far. If I have options to go like different suburbs, I would prefer Sorel and this midway point rather than going 40 minutes at the moment. Right?
Cool.
Yeah.
Let's see the next one. That's something has came up from a very astute investor. I can say from the name itself. What's the expected growth percentage from Devonport? If you think about 3-bedroom or
See,
houses.
three bed again, 4 bedroom is not a concept. Like there are properties, 4 bedrooms, they're a bit overpriced. Not many properties you see 4 bedroom there, especially newly built. You get some properties like in suburb called Latrobe in there, right? But I don't prefer Latrobe in Tas. You find the new properties because the new market there. So that's Devonport. If you go out a little bit, so you find newish houses in Latrobe here. That's the only market where you see these 422s, but they are still 700K-ish. The some pockets of Latrobe are the new pockets, right? Overall, the way it is, you'll see a very good short-term growth. Short-term means in just any year, how we seen in Mackay or have seen that market growth happening in Victoria. Even Totality report says 2 to 3% growth in Victoria. The property we bought grown like 10% plus, right? I remember first property we bought in Epping for 650. The property is going like 760 there, $110,000 up from last September, right? So you will see, in my opinion, in certain pockets around 10 to 12% growth minimum in next 1 2 years, like year-to-year growth, right? Again, that's a prediction, right? That's my analysis that you're in 10 to 12%. As you blink your eyes, you find that 450 properties, 550. So that's how it happens, right? But
Cool.
it's already a lot of activity happening on the ground.
Yep. And today is 1st of October. This 5% scheme, which has been expanded now, there will be an impact because of that. So
Yes.
I don't know why, but I have to say it. This 5% scheme will give us, will push the property prices by a certain amount just in this particular quarter, like in this quarter number starting from October, November, December. So at this stage, it's the best time to enter the market. Next one, let's take the next question. Priority wise, what would be your preference amongst the LGA of Glenrocky, Clarence, Brighton?
So which one? Sorry, which suburbs?
Glenorchy, Clarence, and Brighton.
Brighton is no go for me. Like Brighton is good. Like Bridge, like there's 2 suburbs next to each other. If you talk about Bridgewater, it has a lot of social housing. Brighton is okay, but then you're little far from city. Still, if there's a good property, I will consider Brighton, but I'll try to not buy in Brighton if I have properties in other suburbs. What were the other suburbs, Manish bro?
Glenorchy, you have already opened up.
I really like it. It's a very good suburb. Again, it has some pockets of social housing. Need to be very careful for that. But I like that. I like that area. And Clarence, I may know suburbs around City Council, Tassie. So yeah, so in this one, what are the main suburbs we are talking here? Again, we talk about Ridgeville because of prison, not many people buy in here, but old beach and all that are pretty okay here. Warren looks good too, but market within market. Rugby is good too. So my first preference, I would say Glenorchy, right? Second is this one, and then third, I would go the Brighton.
I think that was the last question which has came up. We are over the time.
So
but
there is
we
another
can-
question: what tools you use to
yeah.
that we are using Stash? There's microbobs, another good tool where you can look into public housing. I'll give you a little bit of demo here. So if I go, there is a thing called that's another tool which we use.
Uh,
That's a social housing. That's a tool. So let me go to quickly here in Tazi. So I was just explaining you this Bridgewater. The Brighton is good, but the Bridgewater have heaps of social housing in here, right? So Glenorchy, Claremont markets pockets within some pockets are very good, some pockets are high social housing, right? So this is the tool we are using.
Good. I think that was the last question which came up in the chat box, but it's open for the any people if they want to ask it live. Anyone can ask. They just need to do the unmute before they want to ask. Anyone? Okay. If there's no question, let me ask the question back to someone. Should I pick up someone randomly and I can say, hey Scott, how do you like it? How's your things going on with Tasmanian build and other stuff?
And you're putting him on a spotlight. He might not be very
No,
active.
that's okay. That's okay. That was a random one, but anyhow, cool. That's okay. I was kidding. So this last question came up, right? Aside from Tasmania, since Perth is off the table, what do you think would be a good place to buy in Australia at this stage, excluding Victoria?
See, New South Wales pockets like Albury, Dubbo, Wagga Wagga, Tamworth, even some Newcastle pockets like we're looking into Rutherford and all that suburb. They're good. They're good on data. Like New South Wales pockets are good. SA pockets again. You gone out of little cycle, but Mount Gambier, good example. Still going like even though it's grown, it's going pretty well. There's some pockets where they're remote pockets, but they are strong on data, and there's a bit of activity happening there. So you can go there. So multiple locations in like literally depending on your personal circumstances, right? Queensland, we are still buying. So, for example, we bought 2 properties in Black's Beach very recently. We were buying heaps of properties around 500K mark. We used to we had to buy 720 because rental is $800 per week still, right? Even though the market has grown, but rental is still strong. The client was looking to buy an SMSF. He says, I need a good cash flow. We bought in that suburbs as well. So depending on your personal requirements, I would say.
And I would say budget will also define which is the best location, right?
Yes.
Yeah, multiple things. Cool. Since we are going to finish this, few more questions came up. If you're looking to buy for a long term, say through SMSF, is Brisbane still good or is it too late to go there?
Because of the Olympics, like I've seen the projects happening due to Olympics, they're bringing that air taxi and stuff like that. It's gonna be future city. I still have a strong feeling for Brisbane, even though it has grown. Similar story like Perth, you have seen the growth already. But if the time frame is 10 years, 12 years, 15 years, I don't mind buying in Brisbane. It's like I'm eager to buy one there whenever the time comes.
Yeah, and with the SMSs, you also consider that what will be your exit plan, right? So are you thinking to buy and hold it till the retirement, or you want to tap on the equity and where you can sell it off afterwards and buy another one? So that's another strategy which you need to think on before you tap onto any location in SMSF, right? Some people, they have a theory that says that They will buy in SMSF, they will forget about till the retirement, but while they are holding that property, the rental yield should be strong, right? The two different theories, based on the theories, is location has to be come up. But as what Dinesh has mentioned, Brisbane, given how much your super is, how much you can borrow, do consider the rental yield, right? Brisbane, in terms of the growth, Brisbane looks promising. No problem with that. This question came back when we were discussing about East Devonport. Is land supply an issue to the east?
There are not many building approvals. So there's no many building approvals. There's a land supply, nothing happening there. I don't have to worry much. So I'm pretty okay with that.
Good. I think let's take the last question.
That's one question was on Lara. Right?
Yes, with respect to property market in Victoria, specifically, what's your insight on Lara?
See, Lara, again, when there's a ripple effect, Melbourne has grown a lot, right? Ballarat is growing nuts, Bendigo has grown, Shepparton is going pretty good. No way Geelong won't grow, right? Lara, the only issue is the land supply. So there's a bit of land on the outskirts in Lara, which is developable. So people are like there's multiple developers active there. So that's the only drawback I have for Lara, but otherwise,
Okay.
I can see a good ripple effect in there too. Manish bro, anything you want to add?
Now, I want to add a few more things over there. It's like Lara has two parts. One is the older part, one is the newish area, right? So in the newish area, the property which has been coming up, that's a 700, 750. Some properties are even coming up for 800. Then the question comes up, do we really have to invest in Lara or do we need to think about some other markets, right? But Lara has this. For the older part, the property prices are still not so low, right? They're still good. So if you have already have a good portfolio which is spread across different suburbs, and you only are left with Lara, you should think about it, right? But if you are the new investor, then do consider other suburb as well. So that's about Lara. Other thing for Lara is that Lara is being connected in such a way that if you want to invest in acreages for the long term, that's a good place to invest. I personally considering a purchase to be done in Lara for as an acreage, right? Why? It hasn't grown up for last 3 years, and I feel that it's at the bottom. This is the right time for me to enter into Lara to buy an acreage, right? So it all depends upon the taste.
Yes.
Good. I think that was the last one. Any more?
I think we are over the time anyways.
I think we over the time, right? So let's do a recap, and I would say thanks to all of the people who have joined so far. I hope you would love this session. The recording will be shared soon, or maybe by tomorrow. Just a request: don't forget to like our page. I like a page which is a PropXpert. The updates goes over there, so it's a way to say thanks to us as well, right? But anyhow, if there's any additional questions which has been missed out, please reach out directly either to Dinesh or myself, or you can visit to the PropXpert website, which is propexperts.com.au, right? Thank you guys. Have a wonderful rest of the evening. Yes, can you stop the recording?